Welcome to the class, everyone. Good morning. Please take your seats. Yes, thank you. Today we will be talking about dance choreography for a period. Modern dance in India has a short story and suffers from far less codification than what are called India's classical dances. What goes by the name of modern or contemporary dances have a huge diversity. Uday Shankar, born in the early years of the 20th century, is widely accepted as the father of modern dance in India. Born to a well-connected family, his father was on the staff of the Maharaja of the state of Jalwar in Rajasthan. Young Uday, the eldest of 5 brothers, was gentle of nature and of a strong artistic bent of mind. Uday Shankar learnt music and choreography from Ambika Charan Mukhopadhyay, his drawing and crafts teacher in school. In 1918, at the age of 18, he was sent to Mumbai to train at the J.J. School of Art and then to the Gandharva Mahavidyalaya. His father relocated to England and became a time barrister and impresario. Because of this decision, Uday moved to London in 1920, joined London's famed Royal College of Art. The Vishnu Dharmottar Purana mentions Veena tu Nritta Shastrena Chitra Sutram Sudurvidam. Without the knowledge of dance, the art of painting is difficult to master, thereby establishing the link between dance and visual art. Uday did not have any formal training in dance, but he had a sense of the body and its power, attractiveness and visual command. On a day that he danced in one of the small shows organized by his father, he caught the eye of the noted Russian ballerina Anna Pavlova. This was to have a lasting impact on his career. While he lacked formal training from a young age, he had been exposed to both Indian classical dance and folk dance, as well as to the ballet during his stay in Europe. He decided to bring elements of both the styles together to create a new dance, which he called high dance. His presentations were creative. Having studied Indian art, Rajput and Mughal paintings at the British Museum, he went on to translate classical Indian dance forms and their sculpturesque iconography into dance movements. Further, during his stay in Britain, subsequent travel to Rome on a scholarship of the French government, he created a network of performing artists. As his interactions with such artists grew, and so did the idea to transform Indian dance into a contemporary form. The turning point came with his first meetings with legendary Anna Pavlova. She was looking for artists to collaborate on Indian-based themes. This led to the creation of ballets based on Hindu themes, including Radha Krishnan and the Hindu wedding, for inclusion in her production. Oriental Impressions. These ballets were presented at some of the most prestigious venues like the Royal Opera House and Covent Gardens in London. Later, he continued to conceive and choreograph ballets, including one based on the world-renowned frescoes found in the Ajanta caves. These were performed across the United States. Later, he called his form creative dance. He worked with Anna for 1.5 years before starting out his own in Paris. Shankar returned to India in 1927 along with a French pianist Simon Barbieri, who was now his disciple and dance partner, and a Swiss sculptress Alice Bonnard, who wanted to study Indian art history. Uday Shankar was welcomed by none other than Rabindranath Tagore, who also tried to pursue him to open a performing arts school in India. Shankar did not do so this time, but he was to do so later. On his return to Paris in 1931, he founded Europe's first Indian dance company. Bonner had abandoned her plans to study Indian art history and had become Shankar's disciple. Shankar first created a strong musical score along with his collaborators in this department, musicians Vishnu Das Shirali and Timir Baran. This new template for music supported his newly devised movements. Paris was his base as he toured all of France, with the premiere show being on 3rd March 1931 in Paris. Its success encouraged him to embark on a 7-year tour through Europe and America with his own troupe, which he called Uday Shankar and his Hindu ballet, with two impresarios, Sol Hurok and Aaron Richmond. His 84 city tour started off with a performance in January 1933 in New York City, where he danced along with his partner Simki, a French dancer. He had a strong eye for visualizations. His adaptation of European theatrical techniques of the lyricism and grace of Indian dance made his art extremely popular both in India and abroad. Thus, at the time when the classical dances of India were going through their reform and revival stage, Shankar was also creating and choreographing a new from inspiration from them. The end result of both streams were radically different. In 1936, he was invited by agricultural economist Leonard Elmhirst, who had earlier assisted Tagore, to visit Dartington Hall for a 6-month residency. This proved to be an exciting and creative time as they met many pioneers of different fields, including Rudolf Laban, the founder of the Laban notation. This experience only added more exuberance to his dance creativity. In 1938, he made India his base, followed Tagore's advice and established the Uday Shankar India Cultural Center at Simtola, 3 km from Almora in the Uttarakhand Himalayas. Here he collected some of the finest and most creative and open-minded practitioners of different art forms. He invited Shankaran Nambudiri for Kathakali, Kandappa Pillai for Bharatanatyam, Amubi Singh for Manipuri and Ustad Alauddin Khan for music. Soon he had a large assemblage of artists and dancers. They too were extremely skilled and talented people, many on their own bordered on genius. Some of them were Guru Dutt the filmmaker, Shanti Bardhan, Simki, Amla, Sundari, Sri Dharani, Satyavati, Narendra Sharma, Prabhat Ganguly, Devilal Samar, the sisters Uzra and Zohra, as well as Zohra's husband Kamleshwar Saigal, Shanta Gandhi, Lakshmi Shankar, and Uday's own brothers Rajendra, Debendra and Ravi also joined him as students. The center, however, closed after 4 years in 1942 due to a paucity of funds. As his students dispersed, he regrouped his energies and headed south, where in Gemini Studio he made the iconic dance film Kalpana in 1948 based on his unique dance style, further sought with immense creativity, in which both he and his wife Amala Shankar danced. They were to make memorable choreographies together like the Shadow Ramayan, Buddha, Shamanya Koshti, Labor and Machine. Uday Shankar finally settled in Baliagugi in Kolkata from 1960, where he opened in 1965 the Uday Shankar Center for Dance, was later opened in 1965. He was awarded the Padma Vibhushan and the Sangeet Natak Academy Fellowship. after his death in 1977, Amala Shankar took over the Kolkata school, which continues to offer training in folk and classical dance, improvisation, costume design, etc., and was eventually in 1991 was awarded the Padma Bhushan. Years after his school at Almora was disbanded, his followers and associates continued to spread his innovative style of dancing and his aesthetic through their own work. Many went on to form their own companies, thus creating an everlasting legacy of his immense body of work and influence on the dancers of his generation. Among them is Shanti Bardhan, who has created the Ramayana ballet using human beings performing like puppets. Bardhan also introduced the Panchatantra tales by creating movements of birds and the animals. Sachin Shankar created the Sachin Shankar Ballet Unit in Mumbai that produced works like Fisherman and Mermaid, for which the music was composed by Hemant Kumar. Shalil's Boatmen of East Bengal, for which the music was created by Salil Chaudhary. Among his other interesting works are Cricket, Train, Na, Waiting, Palki and Ghost. Another prolific student was Narendra Sharma. Sharma choreographed Shakuntala for Hindustani theatres in 1957, Ram Leela, Nav Prabhat and Maharas for Bharatiya Kala Kendra between 1954 to 1965, and in 1970 for the Sahitya Kala Parishad he choreographed Kamayani. Later, under his own group Bhumika, he created more memorable pieces like Rangaveli, Flying Cranes and Antim Adhyay. Guru Dutt, who attended his school, went on to become one of India's finest film directors. Devilal Shamar was the founder director of a folk theatre museum, Bharatiya Lok Kala Mandal in Udaipur, that organized the first puppet festival in 1954. Sundari Sridharani set up the Triveni Kala Sangam that became the center for a rich trove of Manipuri choreographies. Lakshmi Shankar later married his younger brother Rajendra Shankar and changed careers to become a noted classical singer. Zora Sehgal became the grand old lady of cinema and television both in India and Britain. Satyavati later danced with Ram Gopal at the Royal Festival Hall in London and at the Edinburgh Festival in 1956. She taught Indian dance to thousands of young girls in Bombay. In his own family, son Ananda Shankara became a renowned fusion musician before early death took him away. Daughter-in-law Tanushri Shankar runs a dance school and the Tanushri Shankar Dance Company with Shankarian inspiration to the dance language it has adopted, and daughter Lakshmi Shankar, who dances and acts. In 1983, younger brother Ravi Shankar organized a 4-day festival in Delhi to mark his 60th anniversary of his professional debut. The centenary celebrations of his birth were formally launched at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris on 26th April 2001, where dancers, choreographers and scholars from all over the world assembled to pay homage to the master. Interestingly, even before Uday Shankar had set the international stage on fire, someone else was unfolding Indian dances in America, and that too without having visited India. This was Ruth St. Denis. In 1905, St. Denis began her career as a solo artist. The first piece that resulted from her interest in the Orient was Radha, performed in 1906. Radha was originally performed to music from Leo Delby's opera Lakme. Although her choreography was not culturally accurate or authentic, it was expressive of the theme that Saint Denis perceived in Oriental culture and highly entertaining to contemporary audiences. Saint Denis believed dance to be a spiritual expression, and her choreography reflected this idea. Saint Denis abundantly used Indian dress materials and jewelry and designed and wore long flowing costumes. To create an Eastern ambience, she used Indian brassware, ornate columns, flowers, incense, and other creative stage props. Ironically, Ruth Saint Denis became linked to India's culture and thought when she made a trip to that most flamboyant and extravagant center of Western consumerism, New York's Coney Island, which in the summer of 1904 had as its major draw was the streets of Delhi, a grandiose effort to duplicate the pageantry and drama of Lord Curzon's coronation and accompanying Darbar held at Delhi in January 1903. It was in this oriental wonderland that Ruth Saint Denis first drew inspiration of her Indian dances. By 1906, she had added 3 more Indian inspired performances: the Cobra, the Incense, and Notch. She performed before the Maharaja of Kapurthala and Baroda, and before Anand Kumar Swami and Sarojini Naidu, all of who were impressed by her work. She teamed up with Indian Sufi mystic and musician Hazrat Inayat Khan, with whom she partnered for a tour, and for the first time the moves of her ascetic yoga undulated to the real ragas of India. By 1911, she had begun working in an ensemble format, and that is when in 1914 she joined hands with Ted Shawn and later married him. Their dance company, Denishon, became the most influential school of modern dance in America in the first half of the 20th century. In 1926, when Ruth was 47, the Denishon company traveled to India, where she presented her Indian dance inventions not only in the metropolitan cities of Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras, but also in smaller cities and towns including Karachi, Quetta, Lahore, Kanpur, Lucknow, and Allahabad. They had added the cosmic dance of Shiva, a solo by Shawn, and the dance of the black and the gold sari, a solo by Saint Denis. They had to extend their tour and did repeat performances in cities they had already visited. Even Rabindranath Tagore was sufficiently impressed to request Saint Denis to stay on and teach dance at Vishwabharati University in Shantiniketan. All that testifies to the fact that India was open to relooking, this time through a different prism, at its own dances. Esther Sharma Akka, Ragini Devi, and Guru Gopinath. Another American born dancer who introduced India's classical dances to many in America and frankly made many Indians aware of what was possible with their own arts and hence catalyzed their revival was Ragini Devi. Knowledge about India's classical dances was very scant when Ragini Devi, then Esther Sharman, was growing up in Michigan. In Dance Dialects of India, she wrote that she had acquired 2 Sanskrit books on dance when a teenager. She created Indian dances were in vogue in the first decade of the 20th century. After the younger dancer married an Indian physicist, Ramlal Bajpayee, and settled in New York City, she was able to meet with authentic Indian musicians who began to accompany her in her recitals. In 1928, Ragini Devi published Nrityanjali, an introduction to Indian dancing, the first book in English on Indian dance. In 1930, she went to India for further dance study and became a celebrated dancer praised by Indians and Westerners alike. Rabindranath Tagore, the poet, thanked her for helping to revive classical dancing, then in disrepute in India. The crux of Ragini Devi's pioneering work was her research and exploration of the then unknown all male Kathakali dance theatre. It was the style in which she herself specialized. She teamed up with Kalamandalam teacher Guru Gopinath and was the first to present Kathakali in Indian cities outside the villages and the first to bring Kathakali to the West. She performed extensively in New York, Paris and London with her Kathakali troupe in 1938-39. In these presentations, some imaginative changes were woven in by Guru Gopinath. This exposure later served Guru Gopinath well, for he was known as the Asan who could bridge tradition and modernity. It was this skill that made him create the wonderful Ram Leela, the Bharatiya Kala Kendra in the 1950s. La Mary, another American who made a name for herself with Indian choreographies, was La Mary. Originally an ethnic dancer, she was born Rochelle Meriwether Hughes. In 1928, La Mary began performing professionally. In the 1930s, she invited the Indian classical dancer Ram Gopal, one of the early pioneers of dance of India in the West, who toured with her extensively. As she travelled, La Mary learned the native dances of the different areas she visited, studying with local dance masters. She went on to create her own dance works based on the steps and movements, vocabularies she learned. In 1940, La Mary and Ruth St. Denis founded the School of Natya, which is Hindu dance, in New York City. Through the school, La Mary formed the Five Natyas, her first performing company. In 1945, she absorbed the School of Natya into Ethnologic Dance Center and the Ethnologic Dance Theatre. In 1944, she choreographed Swan Lake with the translation into Hindu dance movements. She did not change ballet's music and plot but added a prologue and a dance fight. She was acknowledged as one of the foremost experts in the ethnic dance field. She was instrumental in launching the career of Ram Gopal, who went on to dance with some of the most renowned dancers who made a name for themselves in choreography, Mrinalini Sarabhai and Kumudini Lakhya. A modernist, Ram Gopal, who was trained in Kathakali, Bharatanatyam and Kathak and Manipuri to some extent, blended the classical Indian dance with balletic choreography. Along with Uday Shankar, he was among the first to showcase Indian classical dances in the West starting in the 1930s. He was hailed as the Nijinsky of India. And some years later, Nijinsky came to inspect him. As a choreographer, he is most known for his productions, Legend of the Taj Mahal, Dance of the Setting Sun and Dances of India. He is also noted for his collaboration, Radha Krishna, with British ballerina Dami Alicia Markova, created in 1960. His autobiography, Rhythm in the Heavens, was published in 1957. In 1990, he was named a fellow of the Sangeet Natak Academy, and in 1999 he received the Order of the British Empire. Louisa Mary Lightfoot was born in Warrnambool in Victoria, Australia. Fond of dancing as a child, no one could imagine that Louisa was one day make a profession out of it. She studied mathematics in college and then architecture at the University of Melbourne, becoming the only woman to do so that year. She began practicing in a firm where she received encouragement from a rather unexpected quarter, the wife of her boss, to learn Eurythmics or Greek dancing. On Anna Pavlova's first tour of Australia, she was mesmerized to see the fusion of classical and modern, a technique that she employed. She went on to learn some folk dance, some ballet, and some modern dance with Mary Wigman, and established a dance school and produced many creative ballets, amongst which was The Fruits of Forgetfulness, inspired by the paintings of Gioggin. In 1937, she went to Paris and saw a performance by the Uday Shankar troupe. Inspired by it, she decided on a 2-week stopover in Kerala, but it extended to 5 months as she travelled to Kerala Kalamandalam and began learning Kathakali. But the bug had bitten her and she returned to India after closing up her company to learn Kathakali and Bharatanatyam. While in India, to earn money, she taught ballet to the children of the Raj. She also created tours for Indian dancers, worked with filmmaker K. Subramaniam, father of Padma Subramaniam, and published widely in the Indian press. In 1947, she brought the young Kathakali dancer Shivarama to Australia and forged a creative partnership as Ragini Devi had with Guru Gopinath. They toured internationally, UK, Japan, USA and Canada, and created new choreographies. Indira Vajayam, that was presented at the Australian National Theatre. In 1951, she went to Manipur to learn another sacred form, Manipuri. She wrote about the ritual dances of Manipur, recorded the music and arranged tours for the Manipuri dancers. She tried to establish a dance school for Kathakali in San Francisco with Shivarama. When she died, she Cochin edition of Indian Express lamented the death of Kathakali's Australian mother. With growing interaction between dance practitioners all over the country and the world, an awareness of important contemporary issues, many dancers inspired each other. Dance was then a far harder road to walk than it is today. Thus, these pioneers traversed hard pathways, often carving them to even move a step. Of course, there are issues of representations and authenticity involved in studying how the pioneers took without adequate learning or acknowledgement and made the traditional knowledge their own. But we must look at the positive effect of what they were able to achieve for themselves and for dance.